I'm responding to comments this morning, and lots of comments on James Cleverly. As ever, he seems to have dominated the mailbox. And do we believe James Cleverly's denial about shithole and batshit crazy and all that sort of stuff? And where did he get that language from? Was it something he learnt as a child? I don't think so, because this language, the more I look into it, the language is the language of the 1950s and early 1960s. It's language which is not part of his genre or of his age and background, and I've credited it to his desperation to fit in with the Territorial Army lads, and I may be wrong. Mark Jackson 3347 says, as we all do, he learnt it as a child. The Territorial Army has nothing to do with his upbringing. Full stop. I hope that's right. I would like to think of the Territorial Army and of the Army in general inculcating rather better standards. It's not always been the evidence that I have seen, but certainly what one would desire. In the same way, one would desire that people who want to join reservists and want to play their part would actually see it as a duty and a responsibility rather than something to show off and parade like a peacock at every opportunity without actually putting in the time or without actually doing seeing active service. I think unless he's been deployed somewhere, it's absurd for him to appear in fatigues and make a fuss about this. This is like one's charitable interests as something that one doesn't talk about, and I'm afraid James Cleverly doesn't seem to have a great hinterland, a great depth of interest beyond climbing up the greasy pole of Parliament and painting toy soldiers or playing at soldiering. This is something that I would have thought he had grown out of when he was in the school cadet corps, and I don't think that's the case. There's an immaturity about James Cleverly which is disappointing, and I had hoped for significantly more. I thought that he was one of the better people in the present cabinet. I was wrong, and I hope he can turn things round. But he's going to have to look for standards outside his comfort zone, and I think Penny Mordaunt might believe him because she similarly has a sort of reservist leaning. I think Penny Mordaunt is significantly more adroit about all this and significantly more discreet, and that's to her credit. I think if one compares James Cleverly to a real soldier who's gone to Parliament, there's a big difference, like Ben Wallace and others, a big difference. And Ben Wallace has failings, of course. I was deeply disappointed with his comments about Amazon and Ukraine, but in the end, the standards are higher. We're always going to disapprove of what people say. People are always going to make silly mistakes, and in the House of Commons, with cameras and microphones everywhere, people are going to be hot-mic'd whenever they do something foolish, and there's a lot of pressure, and under pressure people can revert to stupidity. One hopes for the best. One hopes that there will be a change of heart. One hopes there will be a modification of behaviour, and there is time for that. And fingers crossed, and all best wishes to the various parties. James Cleverly needs to look carefully at his behaviour and his standards, where they come from, where they're going, and what he's for. In the end, he's there not only to sort out legislation, to sit at the cabinet, but also to set an example. And the example he's setting at the moment is not felicitous.